are really bad right now. Hey, it is what it is. Okay, it's coming. So now I got to figure out how to get back over here again with a mouse. I mean, for the love of Pete. Okay, we're live. I better not say that now. Everything's going off.
Says we're live.
Okay, we are live. I can't get my mouse to go back over there to tell me where I'm at. All right, so, okay, while we're doing that, I printed an agenda and I actually brought it home this time. So it's like a total win for me today.
Did you check the batteries on that mouse?
I did. No, everything's brand new. Like literally just put brand. Yeah, there's no actual batteries. You just charge it. So, and it says it's full. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Me and computers. Apparently I probably need my kids to come help me. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with roll call. Councilman Wolf.
Here.
Councilman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Benintendi.
Here.
Councilman Curl.
Here.
Council President Shrimp.
Here.
And Councilman Bruger.
Here.
All right. We're going to roll right into legislation. Just so everybody's aware, we did turn this into a regular council meeting so we could get some readings in for to not have to pass things as an emergency and be able to get all the readings in. So that's what this is for. So let's start with Mark.
All right. Yep, I'm off mute. Okay. Let's start with 2020-28, a resolution authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer to enter into a contract with Atlas Butler / Accurate to install a new HVAC system. As everyone knows, the current system is not working. Looks like our final price here ended up at not to exceed $19,500. Is that to assume that we decided on the 95% efficiency?
No, it's to assume that you guys can make that discussion right now. And as long as I have 19.5, I can spend less, but I can't spend more. So okay. I went with that amount based on your guys' responses via email, but any discussion and all discussion is more than, but as far as legislation goes, yes, I can't spend more than that. So I covered our grounds and give you guys the opportunity.
So do we want to pass this and then have our debate as to which one we get either right now or down in old or new business? Anyone have a problem?
That sounds fine.
What's the debate? What's the debate about?
I don't want to, if I prove up to 19.5, I'm hoping and assuming that this would be a high efficiency. And I would be very disappointed if it turned out not to be.
The most efficient that we can fit into that number.
Yeah.
We all agree.
I think originally, if you remember, the lower efficiency was like 16,000.
Right.
So if we decided after passing this to say, you know what, we approved up to 19.5, but we don't want to spend all of it, we could go for the cheap. I would vote for the high efficiency anyway. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, but once we pass this without that in there, then the administration could not choose to do high efficiency.
Well, the engineer for the new architect recommended the high efficiency.
Right.
Because of the, it pays for itself.
Hey, Tiffany, if we recommended high efficiency, would you order that one?
Obviously. I did it in all honesty again.
Diane was worried.
Well, as I had stated, I mean, I got that impression from the emails. So I put 19.5 in, but again, I wanted to cover my bases because if you guys get in here tonight and go, whoa, what are you doing? We wouldn't have to. So, and I would assume we could have honestly lowered it back down as a clerical type thing. But I did it based on the emails that you guys sent. That's where I thought we were going to go with this. And I just wanted to make sure that I could, clearly I couldn't bring you a $16,000 one and do a high efficiency. So that's why we switched it up. I assumed that that's the way we were going to go. And clearly I'm going to go with what you guys tell me to do.
Awesome. Okay. That being said, I move passage.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Perfect. All right. Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Councilman Benintendi.
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
Council President Shrimp.
Aye.
And Councilman Curl.
Aye.
got it. All right. HVAC.
All right, so that is passed. Moving on to 2020-32, a resolution authorizing the negotiation of a contract with Garmin Miller and Associates, architects and engineers, to pursue a plan to design and manage the completion of improvements to the municipal building known as the community building. This is just a second reading. As of yet, there's no dollar in this. This is to start that, no dollar amount that is. This is just to start that process of negotiating with them. Questions, comments, or concerns? Moving on. Resolution 2020-33. This is the one that we've been getting emails about this afternoon. It is the intention to waive readings and declare an emergency on this.
100%.
Yes, this is dealing with the renewal levy on this year's ballot. This is not anything obviously passing that, since that's going to be a ballot issue. This is just getting Franklin County the paperwork that they need so that they can certify and put that question on the ballot for our residents to decide. So I am going to move to waive readings for this.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded.
All right. Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Can I just get a very quick Cliff Notes on why we're doing this emergently? Is it for a timing issue with the Board of Elections?
Needs to be to them by October 1st.
Oh, well, in that case, yes, aye.
And it's not due to us. I mean, the biggest answer is, and Kim sent out, you're more than welcome to read your emails. Kim sent out an email that discussed all of that. We actually just got this information and I could look at the actual posted date, but we've had it in our hands for about 2 weeks. Certified amount.
I've been digging around with the sediment analysis today more than anything, so I didn't see that, but thank you.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, aye, we're good.
Yes. Okay, that was an aye. Okay, Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Council President Shrimp.
Aye.
And Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, we have waived readings. I'm going to move to pass this then as an emergency.
Second.
And seconded by Councilperson Benedetti.
All right, Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti.
Aye.
Councilman Curl.
Aye.
Council President Shrimp.
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
All right.
All right, passed as an emergency. All right, on to Ordinance 12, 2020. This is only a second reading of this. This is an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for the current expenses of the Village of Minerva Park for the year 2020. As I understand this, a lot of this is still just moving some money from one account to another to overcome some issues that sprung up from some accounting errors earlier in the year where money was drawn out of the wrong place, and now we need to square it all out. Is that pretty accurate, Mayor?
Yes, that is correct, but there are going to be additional adjustments to this. As you can see, there's some other general government under the CARES Act. Under the CARES Act, you're going to see quite a few adjustments. As you can see, we originally put $15,000 for the HVAC. That's obviously going to get changed because we just approved up to 19. We were waiting to adjust this week to make sure that we don't have to bring another one up to you guys in a week. So there will be additional adjustments to this week before the final reading. And we will get those out to you as soon as possible so you guys can ask questions.
Gotcha.
But expect some changes. I can tell you CARES Act, the one you guys just passed is not accurate on here.
Okay, anything else? Anyone with any questions or anything on that?
Tiffany, do you know what the community planning and zoning contractual services increase was for?
Hold that thought.
The 22.2.
No, I would love to tell you. But I will find out before the next meeting, and I'll send you here. I will send you guys an email as soon as I find out between today and tomorrow, and then we'll announce it on Monday before we do pass it.
Okay.
If I sit here long enough and think about it, yeah, probably. But off the top of my head, no, I'll have to think about it.
Okay.
All right, I think that ends legislation then. Someone else's turn to chat.
No, I don't know. Okay, those are done. To be completely honest, I just figured what we would do is keep this as a regular council meeting and discuss the things that we wanted to discuss as a work session into old business, new business. If you guys don't want to discuss anything, we'll end the meeting and go home and have a nice day. But instead of ending this, or we can end this as a meeting and just continue the video. I'm not sure exactly how you guys want to do it. And I'm glad I did live stream because I did not hit the record button and I still can't figure out how to use my mouse to go over here to do it.
The way I see it, we should at least come to a consensus. I think it should be easy that we should go for the high efficiency HVAC. Is there anyone out there who disagrees with that?
I agree, especially with the fact that Garmin Miller said that they could likely work with it and incorporate it, so it doesn't really end up being some huge cost or sunk cost.
Now, this day and age, it's kind of a no-brainer because energy prices are going to skyrocket. The thing will actually pay for itself, and after a few years, it'll save money. But some people don't realize the high efficiency ones put out almost no pollution. So that's another benefit. In fact, they don't even need a chimney. And you vent them out a wall.
I just wanted to, we don't have to have a full discussion tonight, but I was thinking about it today, and based on the situation with the EMS, I'm wondering, is it possible we would decide to, depending on the timing, hold off on the smaller HVAC for that area?
The only difference that I'm going to tell you is, again, we have to do this by December. I don't have a preference. That is for you guys to discuss. But don't forget, if we want to do this for the reasoning that we're doing it, it has to be done by December.
Well, I don't see any reason to hold off, because EMS is going away in my opinion, we're going to use that space.
Oh yeah, I agree, but it might be too small. What I'm thinking is it just might end up being, it might end up being, are we going to use it in the interim? Or if we make it a priority for whatever remodeling we determine going forward, it's a timing thing, I agree. It just may be what we want it to go to, it may be too small. I'm just totally speculating here. And then if we don't need to keep it heated, I don't know. It was just a thought. I don't know if it makes sense.
I don't personally see any reason why we wouldn't keep it heated. It's not going to change. It was, they got the size unit to handle that space. So that's not going to change. I don't see anything changing that would prevent us from moving forward. I personally like to get into that garage as soon as possible.
Does anybody know whether is that total area including the garage being heated or just the housing area?
Housing area is my understanding.
I don't know how that's zoned. Is there a separate zone or a separate unit that covers the police and EMS?
No, the police are on the one unit with the administration, and then the EMS is on a separate unit. So it's a smaller area. Just to say.
Garmin Miller had wrote quite a bit about adding space and what they would do to add space.
Yeah, we just have a little while to get through contract negotiation and blah, 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 and all that. So but if Tony says like we could use the garage as a garage, but that wouldn't affect that's not being heated anyway. So that's,
well, you wouldn't want to not heat it at all. You want to keep it above freezing at least if you were heating it, like at 40 degrees.
Right.
Otherwise it damages the roof.
Okay. My quick thought too, leaving it as a garage, and again, I don't know what we're going to do long term. Clearly, I don't think any of us have a crystal ball, but at this point in time, getting the UTV that we just spent $15,000, I don't even know, $15,000 on would be nice to get that out of the winter. I know you don't have to, but it would be nice to get that in the event that we do in fact lose EMS. But there's also, I know that we're not there yet, but hopefully we're going to talk about what we're going to do moving forward. But a snowblower, different thing, we have nowhere to put any of that stuff. So I'm going to, again, I've made mention that you guys are going to see some stuff on this supplemental appropriation, and that's going to be one of them. We're going to have to do something. I mean, I know that you guys haven't really discussed it, but in 2 to 3 months, we're going to start seeing snow. And we have a lot of sidewalk over there, and we have a shovel. We really don't even have a nice shovel. So we're going to have to do something, and it's going to have to go on the supplemental appropriation, and we've got to start talking about it, or it's going to all have to be under $3,000. And I'm going to have to make some decisions because, again, we do have a lot of sidewalk. There's a lot of stuff that's going to have to start being done over in that section.
Well, you're saying we have $3,000 max to do storage?
No, I'm saying that's all I can sign up to. But as of right now, it's going to snow. We're at the mid to late September. And in order to do 3 readings and not pass it as an emergency, you guys need 2 months, over 2 months. So that would put you guys in December, I think, if I do my math right. All of September into October, 1st of November, and then 30 days, it's December. So if we get a late snow around Thanksgiving, you could potentially have a couple inches of snow that you can't do anything with.
Yeah, it'll melt though.
It'll melt, but you can't tell your residents that if they have more than 2 inches of snow that they have to clear their path, but we don't have to clear ours. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but we've been, okay, so I understand we want to raise the bar from the way it's been. I get that. So, okay, I didn't mean to get into a link.
I'm confused to the issue. We're talking about getting a snow blower, and then we need somewhere to store it.
Well, we need, this is a conversation that goes along with the maintenance conversation, and yeah, we should have a place to store all of our equipment. And if we decide to do some of this maintenance, like if we decide not to outsource the snow plowing of certain common areas, then we'd have to buy the equipment and have a place to put it, and yada yada. So and time is running out, as Tiffany.
Behind the parking lot where the police normally park their cruisers, wouldn't there be space if that's what it came to put up like an Amish pole barn or something like that for storage of maintenance equipment?
I think a pole barn, I'm not sure a lot of people would appreciate it being there, but I think a pole barn has been suggested in the past. So
does this fundamentally all come down to the use of the EMS garage and the heating of the EMS garage? I just don't want us to get too lost in the weeds here.
Right. No, the point is that all I asked is the garage heated? The answer is no. Therefore, whether we have the HVAC or don't have the HVAC over there makes no difference to the garage. Garage is not heated. Yes. So
makes perfect sense.
Cool. Then. We can use it as a garage temporarily, even if it's just for this winter.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
I hear you. I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, the only other thing I had was I sent out the text I'm suggesting for the village update for the November ballot. And I have gotten feedback from Kim on it. And so this is the last one that you got, the one you got cut and paste into your email right before the meeting is the text, if you want to talk about it now, or if you just want to have time to look at it. And I know that Tiffany wanted to Tiffany wanted to get it going
Excuse me.
like tomorrow for as far as getting it ready for the village update. So
looked fine to me.
Kind of priority.
I just sent out an email on. Oh, I'm sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
I just said I haven't seen it, but I'm confident that Diane whipped up something wonderful.
Oh, right.
I looked at it and it looked good to me.
I just sent out an email on a little bit of homework I've been doing on the sediment report. I can give a brief synopsis. About half of it is remnants from our industrial past, and the other half appears to be modern waste from fracking. So nothing too terribly unexpected, I suppose. Yeah, waste from fracking, Tony. It ain't as clean as they say.
What are they fracking around here?
It gets into the water systems. It leaks everywhere.
What leaks everywhere?
I didn't realize how bad it was.
Yeah, fracking is very dangerous to aquifers and water tables because it leaks into the aquifer and the water table itself, and it goes everywhere. So let's say they're fracking somewhere up in, I don't know, Hardin County, or where I come from, Allen County. I don't think they are, but it gets into the water tables underneath there, flows downstream into this area, and ends up in Minerva Lake.
But is it we're not getting to a level that of toxicity that makes it difficult to get rid of the material?
That I don't know as of yet.
Okay.
It is present though. About half and half with a little bit of trifluorobromine or something like that, which is a wood preservative / fungicide, which makes sense in a heavily residential construction area. But it's about half industrial, half fracking waste with a little bit of sulfur and iron, which is probably natural, and a little bit of wood treatments.
There's been fertilizer problems in the watershed. That probably is the iron, the sulfur.
I'd be looking. Well, sulfur is natural in the soil and the water in Ohio. I'd be more concerned about nitrogen and phosphorus, which I don't recall seeing for organics.
Nitrogen and phosphorus were on the first report.
Yeah, so that's probably farming runoff, in addition with one more farming agrochemical that was detected in this current one.
They are
fracking. I didn't see that it was. I was surprised it wasn't higher.
I was too, honestly. The sulfur and iron don't worry me, but the nitrogen and phosphorus, I suspect, are fertilizer. Mm-hmm, sulfur and iron, again, they're natural in the water in this area.
If you want higher, you can read the report on Hoover. Hoover's higher.
Farming runoff. It's actually just yard runoff. I know the Olentangy leaves Columbus with more phosphorus and nitrogen in it than it shows up in, because suburbia uses as much fertilizer as any agro business out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just not to put it all on the farmers. Some of it's our nice dandelion-free front yards.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But I do think just from reading Facebook comments, there are, I think, more than usual number of residents who are sensitive and are not using that kind of, or using more natural products. Not everybody, of course, but I would say more than usual.
Park's the biggest offender.
Yeah.
I don't think Minerva Park's the biggest offender at all. I mean, believe me, nobody stigmatizes the American lawn more than I. Come over and look at my garden sometime. But yeah, so it's about what's to be expected in a large town with the relics of heavy industry.
So I think in terms of next steps, the vendor who did the test for us, he was trying to get us in, would be trying to find a place to deposit this. So do we need to have someone analyze the results and make recommendations for where we might try to go to get to dump material? Is there another or a consultant or someone who would be expert in that area saying, well, you could definitely go to farms with this. You could find a farm with it. Or there's no way that any farmer would get approved for taking this, because the the farmer has to turn around and get approval for taking the material. So what I don't know from reading these is, it's just like, is my cholesterol high or low? The thing it doesn't say is, here's normal cholesterol and here's where you are. The report doesn't say that. It just says what it is. And you're supposed to go figure out whether is that good? Is that bad? Is that normal?
Diane, there has to be a baseline. There has to be a baseline someplace.
Well, right, there does. So who has that, or how do we get that, or
internet?
I don't know if you get.
But I was fishing around, and I'm sure there's an easier way than the way I was fishing around.
I can get it from Bragg if we need it.
Joe, if you've got some resources with some of the great minds of chemistry and material deposition, that'd be fantastic. Because I don't.
Just email me a list specifically of what you'd like to have, and I'll get it over to the over to OSU. And
you just received an email, as did everybody else, on a brief rundown of everything present in the reports that we just got on a few days ago. So those are the ones that I just mentioned, being agricultural and suburban runoff and heavy industrial and fracking. So
the fracking Morrow County
is where it's Morrow. That makes sense.
As far north as that is, it's still the watershed for Hoover, which
makes sense. Yeah, fracking was a massive lie, but that's neither here nor there.
So on August 31st, I sent everybody an email, or roughly within that day or so, because I'd already reached out to a lot of places that could potentially have taken the sediment. And the person that I'd been talking to from SWACO, she reached out to someone, and here's the response. And again, you guys should all have this email. It says, lake sediment would be considered a contaminated soil due to the runoff going into the lake. As long as the sediment shows normal contamination, we would take the material at the regular tipping fee rates. The link below provides a special waste packet that needs to be filled out. And once we receive the material, we can make a determination. The packet includes additional people if you have any questions. So once we got these reports, we're able to fill out an application. I'm going to call it an application. We can fill out the application, submit all of the reports, and they will determine whether or not they can assist us in dumping it at one of their locations. But they believe that as long as the levels weren't crazy, in which we're going to know if the levels are crazy, because when we send it to them, if we get denied, we're going to know why we were denied. So that is something that once you guys determine if we want to move forward in that direction, but just don't forget that, removing this sediment and having it dumped there, unless we find somewhere to let it dry out, is going to be astronomical. How much is astronomical? Nobody can actually give me an answer, because we haven't found anybody that's willing to take it, and how far we actually have to take it yet. So removing the sediment out of the lake, not dried out, and taking it to one of these dump sites is $39.75 a ton. And wet sediment is going to be a little heavy. So if we
may as well just withdraw all of our accounts into cash and light it on fire if we want to haul it wet.
Well, I mean, there are options. I mean, we do have low-lying areas that we could dump this in and let it dry out and then scoop it back out and remove it. We also have a corner of one of the lakes to pull it to, stack it up as high as possible, let it dry out. It's not all going to dry out, but it's an option. We have the possibility of asking Westerville City Schools. The answer could be no. But we do have that option.
Over and over again. It's like, I thought we had come to the conclusion that we were going to drain the lake and pump it out and then dig it out and not have to worry about any drying of material.
As soon as you go down, what they're telling us is as soon as you go down 2 feet, it's all going to become wet again and heavy.
That was the point. He dug out the sample. He dug out the sample from the dry side of South Lake or North Lake. I can't remember which one. But anyway, he was right there with the shovel in the dry. And it was, when they did the analysis, one of the 3 reports will show you that it was 50% water.
Still. And again, I'm not an expert on it, but that's what I'm being told. We could let it dry out for 2 years, and it's not 2 years, but it has to be outside of water for about 60 days without rain going onto it in order to dry out. And that's not going to happen in Ohio. We don't have anywhere that we're going to be able to set it. So stacking it up, the inside is still going to be wet. It's not going to dry all the way through. So you're still going to, if it's all flat, you start digging it out. My guess is just once you get down a foot, it's going to be wet. Maybe I've never dredged a lake, but I have watched it dry out for 2 weeks. You don't have to guess underneath.
Yeah, you don't have to guess on that because he dug down about a foot to get his sample, and it was 50% water.
And that was after drying out.
He showed it to us. It looked a little mucky. That top was dry, and then about 6 inches down, it got a little wetter, and about 12 inches down, it was muck. So when they did the consolidated soil samples, it was 50% water.
And that was after sitting in his bucket for probably a week, if you don't recall, Diane.
Yeah.
Because it was several days later by the time he actually took it somewhere, at least a week.
Can we I don't know if this will work or not, but could we get one of those, if you've ever been to like the fair, they have the big thing where they spin it around and then they drop the floor and the centrifugal force keeps you there.
That's, Mark, that's pretty good. But you know what? We could give every resident a salad spinner. And then every week we deliver a ball of muck, and they...
No. A conveyor pizza oven, right? You put a scoop of dirt on there, it runs through the conveyor pizza oven, it comes out the other side dry.
It's out the other side pottery.
Yeah.
And in
like an idea of burning
the lake can be dredged.
Councilman McNamara, you had the best idea. Let's just torch it.
Withdraw all of our cash and just set it on fire.
So, and again, I have no idea how wet it's going to be once we dry it out. I don't know what spring's going to look like. I don't know what summer's going to look like next year. None of us do. So it still boils back down to having it at least partially dry is going to save a lot of money in the event that we could find somewhere to store it for 30, 60, 90 days. There is not one person that has told us that is not the best idea. Removing it instantly. And again, Diane, anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but getting it somewhere to let it dry out for 30, 60, 90 days is what every single person has told us. Every person.
Yeah, and then they offered their sympathy after that.
They sure do. They do.
And so, the thing is if I don't know how you do it, but if you could, because North Lake does have input all the time, but if you could put those inner tube jobbers on if you got North Lake to the point where you could place these inner tubes right on the bottom of North Lake and then divert any new water coming in,
right,
you could probably get something done. But it could sit there until it got dry if you kept it diverted,
right,
until you got the some of it out of there. You'd have to, I don't know how much you would get out of there, but
because he even talked about maybe doing like a pipe of some sort connecting, or a trench of some sort, like
right. The thing is, you have multiple input. You've got that side input off the lake court.
Yeah.
You've got that one that's a side inlet.
Probably four different places that it goes in. 4.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be. I'm sure it's possible engineering wise, but it wouldn't be cheap either. It wouldn't. Nothing's a cheap solution, and that certainly wouldn't be either. But you could probably figure it out.
Cheap solutions aren't good, and good solutions aren't cheap.
Yeah.
And can we utilize the east side of the dam there, that little ravine, to store some muck and let it dry out?
The east side of that's the overflow, and somebody's gonna fine you if you stuff a bunch of soil in there. That's why it's a gully there, is a deterrent against the flood.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing the muck would do is if for example if that thing overflowed, or if we kept North Lake open and we got 100-year flood or something, that thing would overflow, would back up into that, which is supposed to, the catch basin area. And then all that, it would start grabbing that muck and sucking it into the creek that it's supposed to be channeling into, and then that could back up. I think if you got caught doing that, I think it's a great idea personally, but I think if you got caught doing that and it was a 100-year flood routine going on, I mean, you'd be trying to pack your bag and get out of town quick.
Yeah.
Don't give, yeah, let's not. These all sound like great ideas until my door gets banged on first. I will let everybody know where all of you live.
Well, if we flood the entire village with that, then they'll run us all out on a rail line.
Well, we don't want it flood. I mean, it'd just be the MI section probably. That's where the water's going to go.
Do you hear us?
Yeah, no, we sound terrible.
You guys do know you guys are all live, right? I just want to make sure you all
know we do sound terrible, and of course we're being, in case anyone doesn't know, we're being facetious.
Exactly.
Well, we really do, and we really are trying to solve this. It's just, but sometimes a little comic relief helps.
It does.
Come up with a new idea.
So Mayor, are you sending that information to the SWACO or whoever that was, or have you?
I have not yet. We just got those reports, like David said, within the last, Friday? Was it Friday?
Yeah, and I was on a work stretch, so I just sat down and did my homework on them and wrote up my report I just sent all you guys this afternoon. So
as long as technically it's an application to actually get it done. But I can kind of give them like an update. Hey, we're really not doing this right now, but we want to make sure that this is something that you're willing to take. So I have no problem doing that tomorrow. I'll be there all day tomorrow. So, all day later in the day tomorrow. So, I have no problem filling it out, sending it in. If I have any questions for you guys, I'll let you know, but we can at least get it over to them. And I use that as my analyzation.
Are you sure is it easy form?
Oh, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's got a million questions, but no, I'll figure it out.
Well, all right.
It can't be that bad. I mean, again, because they want all of the reports.
But it can be.
Oh, it can be. So no, I'm submitting all the reports with them. So I'm sure it's probably name, address, location, and all of that, because the only thing that really matters is the reports. Yeah. So, how much, I mean, it'll be a TBA. Who knows? If we knew the answer to that, we would know how much it was going to cost us. So we don't know how much it's going to be. More than 1 ton and less than 2 million. So who knows? Okay. But yes, I will do that. I can do that tomorrow, and I can send you guys an email tomorrow just to let you know that we did submit it. Like I said, if I have questions for you guys, I'll send it out to you if anybody has any. And again, it's just going to SWACO. So they've been really helpful getting ideas and all that. So worst case, if they don't, then the next thing we do is ask them for other recommendations.
Yeah, my only problem is I really cannot, I'm not really good at visualizing 6,000 square yards of material.
Not either.
I just don't know what that looks like. How much space does that need?
Well, the cubic
yards.
Yeah.
Go
3 bags of mulch is a cubic yard. And
then 2,000 bags of yard, or 6,000 bags a yard, or 200 yards by what?
30.
3 yards.
Yeah, 200 by 3. No, that would, 600, and then up another yard, right? Because it's 600 cubic yards.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot of dirt.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a place, I'm going to be non-religious. What about in terms of drying it or drying out, putting a tarp or doing something, but what about the space on the other side of the fence by the pool? That's a pretty big space.
Ooh. That is a really big space.
I mean, you got to get it. I really believe it needs to be somewhere near the lake to pick it up, drag it down to the pool, let it sit, and then pick it up and haul it away. I don't.
Well,
I think if you had it, but I think it's not that far. Well, I don't think it's that far. Number one. Number two is that you'd have to prep the area, and then you'd be able to. It's a big enough area where if you had to turn it to dry it like you do compost, or if you had to run over it, or
I don't believe that's what you do.
Well, that's what you do with the thing. You want it to dry out, but I don't know. I just thought it was big enough area.
The higher you make the mound, gravity pulls it down.
Well,
but if you turned it, it would dry quicker.
Well,
It's
Now-
true, but if you
You
put
know,
it in
we're really trying to think of something different here. I'm not saying, and maybe you don't, maybe there's a different type of container that could be. I've seen all kinds of jury rig stuff on the internet, but maybe it's something where you put it in some kind of woven, plastic woven material like they use for
I've watched a lot of
keeping
videos.
the weeds out, and then maybe you have so many of these laying out, not one big one, but like rows of these where you put the wet soil on there and fold it over, and keep it closed, and then lay out another one and put the soil on, fold it over, leave it closed.
If the material's partly wet when you put it out there, you would need good drainage wherever it is, so all the liquid didn't just sit at the bottom.
Well, we wouldn't have to worry about paying to fill the pool next year then.
I'm done.
Okay. I'm gonna totally. I don't know if anybody's still on here watching. Let me see if I can tell. I wish I was watching earlier.
Last time I checked, there was me, the guy checking, and 2 others.
Okay.
Maybe we should try and do something like set up something for one of the committees or something for people to go out and scout around and see if they can find suitable places for it.
We have to know what the conditions of saying yes are and what we're asking people to do before we go out and ask people, because they're again, if you use a farmer or someone with land and you're dumping that much material, they have to fill out a form and get permission to dump.
Maybe you weren't there when we talked with them. I was talking with the guy from Metropolitan Environmental, whatever it is. His plan was to take and dig this stuff up and put it into a pile in the lake.
Right.
In the North Lake, let it dry, and then he scoops it up and hauls it away.
That's what a couple of them have recommended. That's as a last resort, though. That's kind of what they said.
Yeah.
The bottom part won't dry out or whatever. That's kind of like one of their last resorts, because if you get it out of the lake, then the bottom whole part won't be all wet. But anyways, because that's what the guy told me today too. I had talked.
My version of that was to put it, the little inlet or the ravine that's on the west side of North Lake.
Comes from
There's a big area in there. Would be to dump it in there. It'd be easy to get back out.
Right.
The only concern that they had today was potentially how high could that actually be, and how large of a mound could we actually, because again, depending on how high this thing goes, only so many people are going to have equipment to go that high. And that was the concern with, there's a lot of muck in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one, or you have to do it multiple times. You may have to do it in phases. Once again, you pull it all to the front, let it dry out, get it out of there, pull another group up, because again, the mound can only be so high or so wide.
That east ravine, the west ravine on North Lake might hold all of it without it being high.
It's Joe, isn't it true? If a ravine is a ravine, it's a ravine because it's water has cut that ravine and water wants to go there.
Well, so I think we could put a drainage tile.
So if you put this in there, worst case scenario, we might need a little foredam, so it doesn't flow back down into the lake. But the ravine, the water in the ravine that normally goes through there, the flood water would just make a channel underneath it all.
You could put an irrigation pipe in there, and then and pour all that stuff on top of that.
I don't see how that would keep it dry though, because it's sitting out in the weather.
Because when you
we're trying to dry it, right? We are trying to dry it.
Yeah, done.
Well, there's nothing we can do about the fact that it's going to rain, and that's going to set us back.
There's another
thing that's not going to happen.
When winter comes along, it gets below freezing. Things actually dry out when they freeze, also, because ice evaporates directly into a vapor.
Okay. I think
we've accomplished.
We beat this horse, dead horse, or
we figured out we're going to dump a whole pile of crap someplace.
No, not really. I don't think. Well, anyway, we threw around some ideas, and okay. So, are we ready to adjourn?
No. There was somebody that was watching the meeting a few minutes ago, and maybe we didn't do a really good job of something. Somebody's asking what the levy is for. It is a renewal levy. It is I'm going to go with general operating levy. It is not going to increase taxes. It is strictly a renewal. There will be some information coming in the newsletter very shortly. Whether or not we end up doing a postcard later on, that may be something that we do, but the village was up for a 1.9 and a 4.0 mill levy. The council decided to let the 1.9 mill levy expire, which should mean lower taxes. Your property taxes should go down a few dollars. But unfortunately, the village is not going to be able to let go of a 4 mill levy. Diane, did you have the actual amount of what that generates? I thought it was 137,000.
130, yes, 138, 132. And the valuation, it is the person asked a question because not everybody knows this levy is a property tax levy. It's not a fire levy or something else like that. So it's a property tax levy. It is a renewal. And because it's a renewal, the good news is about that is that it's renewing at the same rate that that everyone's used to. So in other words, I know that the property tax valuations are going to be new for next year and stuff is going up, but this is because it's a renewal. It's based on the original valuations from 2015. So you'll see that, in fact, since we're letting go the 1.9 renewal, we're letting that one go. The 4.0 will remain the same, but overall, you'll see a little bit lower. Those people who are, I don't know who asked the question, if they're in the news section and they've never paid property tax yet, then this, of course, doesn't apply to them. They have no history with this. But for those in the heritage, I'm calling it the heritage, we need that. The heritage part of the village, in other words, the older section, if you want to call it that, they do have history for the most part. So if you've been paying this 4.0 since 2015, then the amount's not changed.
Okay. And to be clear, I think I said something a little off. So to be politically correct here, 1.9 is going to go away. 4 mill, we're hoping will stay. That does generate into our general fund, which helps support our everything that we do, because it does go into the general fund. The saying that your property taxes will not go up, don't forget we did pass the Westerville City School levy last year, and I do believe that does kick in this year. So the Village of Minerva Park will be lowering. The portion that you pay to the Village of Minerva Park will actually decrease this year. But what your overall taxes do, I'm out. That has to do with everything from the city of Westerville City Schools and all that kind of stuff. But to be completely fair, the Village of Minerva Park, the amount you pay to them if you live in the old section will actually decrease with this renewal levy. And does everybody agree that I said that correctly now?
That sounds correct.
And it should decrease not just because of letting the 1.9, but since it's a levy and it's capped at the 138, 132, and we now have more houses paying into it, that should, if I'm not mistaken, reduce it as well, correct?
That is technically correct, although Kim cautioned me not to use should, but use may, because there can be some quirky situations with different houses and evaluations that might make that not true. But generally, it would be generally a true statement.
So yes, I just want to make sure I don't say it incorrectly when I say that your taxes are going to lower and then they get their bill and it's $400 more. That goes to the city of.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it's a may, not a, it's a may. You know, again, it's generally that would be true, right?
Okay. That was the only question that was on there. So I wanted to make sure that people understand that we're not trying to pass a new levy. It is a renewal.
I would like to start talking about the EMS and what we're going to be doing with that. How much longer we're going to continue operating our EMS.
Well, I mean, I don't even, based on our last conversation at the safety committee meeting, that's going to depend on what Columbus still comes back with, right? If they agree to what we sent Jesse off with, we could be done as early as, we could be on Columbus as early as November, maybe?
We're on Columbus right now. That's what I don't get.
So I guess is your question, when do we unwind our current EMS? I wouldn't do that until I wouldn't do that until we have a date in which we are in contract with Columbus.
Okay, then explain to me why that, because we get coverage. That isn't, are you saying that if we get rid of our EMS, all of a sudden Columbus is going to stop covering? I just don't.
Maybe. I would say that it would be a bad faith thing to get rid of our current EMS if our point all along was that we have the service available for mutual aid, right? To get rid of it before we are actually in contract, I would consider a bad faith move.
Bad faith with who?
With Columbus.
They don't want, this is the thing that's bugged me ever since we've been talking about this, is that, we've kept doing this, kept running the EMS in hopes that they would keep using us and that we wouldn't have to pay, or whatever the hope was. Now we know for sure that they're not going to use, they're not putting us on the run card. That isn't going to change. Mm-hmm. So why do we continue to throw money away I don't understand why we don't discontinue operation immediately, or maybe not immediately, but as soon as possible.
Well, if that is something, okay. I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
And what I'm identifying is what I feel is as soon as possible is when we have an actual contract with Columbus. If people disagree with me, they're welcome to, and I've given my reasons why. Yeah.
We go around and see what everybody thinks. I'm curious too, and not because I disagree with Brian. I had originally asked that question just to be fair, and I think for my reason,
for you,
we're paying obviously EMS to run Minerva Park and Westerville, so they are in fact running, but as a very short amount. The majority of the time when you call EMS, you are going to in fact get Columbus in the village. So I had actually asked Gene about it, and he also said, you don't want to get rid of your EMS until you know exactly what's going on, because you lose all your bargaining power, which I completely agreed with. I don't know how much I still agree with that at this point, because I think for me, I'm not saying we're getting rid of them tomorrow. I'm not saying anything. I would love to hear what everybody else has to say, because at some point, the dream's over. Maybe it's not. I don't feel like it's ever going to go backwards. I don't think that we're not going to get into contract with Columbus. I don't know that if we got rid of our EMS tomorrow, that they're going to come back and say, now you have to pay $600,000. I don't feel like that's going to happen, but maybe somebody else does. So that's where I was curious, because here was my thinking behind this too. In the event that they still fight us for paying 2020, every dollar we spend the rest of this year is another dollar that we could have put towards the money that we're going to pay in 2020, if they are in fact believing that the reason that we're paying is because they are providing a service. And that is their reason for us paying all of 2020. They believe they have provided the Village of Minerva Park service the entire year. So I just feel like every dollar we're spending from here on out is
money that we could be applying to the bill or whatever it is that they're going to charge us. That's why I don't understand why we continue.
So Brian, I hear you. And I got that answer from Gene. So I would love to hear just what everybody else has to say. I'm curious.
Where are the station houses?
Well, sorry.
I know there's a station house down at Morse Road and Carl. Where are the other Columbus firehouses?
Maple Canyon 161.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, Joe. I mean, the 6 is the closest one, and
response time makes a difference.
Well,
But
they have
I
an
got
obligation.
rain.
They have an obligation for response time if they're covering us, and that's what 4.5 or 5 minutes, whatever it is, supposed to be. But anyway, I think, Mayor, if you just called on each person and they gave you.
Yeah. David had his hand up, so I'm going to go to David, and then Joe was the next one. Then we'll just kind of go around.
Well, I take the viewpoint of a couple of my fellow council members. I agree that just canceling it abruptly would be an act of bad faith. However, I also share the opinion of Councilman Benedetti that we know what the end game of this is going to be. It's not going to be continued our continued community EMS service. That being said, I cannot agree with the idea to just disband them immediately. I understand the financial implications. I do. However, these are not just numbers on a spreadsheet, people. These are people. These are our neighbors. These are other human beings with jobs and families. If we were to just end abruptly, that could be some very severe implications for them in a time as bad as this. That's just not a humane thing to do. So if we know that the answer is going to be the end of an EMS service, which I very much agree with, that's what it's going to be. But give them some time. Don't cancel it immediately. That'd just be
well, so
that'd be an act of bad faith against them.
This has been up in the air for all this year. And for anyone that is a member of our EMS, they have to understand that their time here is precarious. So
I'm sure they do, but once we finalize the plan, then that's it. So if we're going to finalize the plan, give them some time. I mean, they're people, they're our neighbors, they're our community.
Well, sometimes you have to make tough decisions, and this is one of those times where we're throwing money away. If you guys want to continue to do that, then that's fine.
I'm not saying continue. I'm saying if we're going to stop, I get that, but how much money is the cruelty of just throwing them out instantly worth?
Well, David, I don't know if you know, but nobody is full-time.
And I thought one was.
Nobody's full-time. They all have, so I'm not saying they all have a second job, but a lot of them do have a primary job, and this is a secondary. They all sign up for the hours they want, and it's very flexible. And so I know, but I totally agree. Anytime you're ending a program, you really, it's just a matter of, I know they think of their group as family. I know that the prior mayor always felt of them as family. I don't see a problem with respectfully at least giving them 2 weeks notice that it's shutting
give them
down.
some warning.
That's what that is just a decent thing to do in any situation where you have the camaraderie in the group and all that. I don't think we have to be. We could just close it, but I just don't think we need to do that. But that's my opinion. But now I'm not sure. I think the mayor was going to call on Joe next.
Joe.
Well, having been a paramedic, I know what the routine is as far as all the business we have. I was talking to the fire marshal last week about what rules they're going to use for social distancing.
Joe, can we talk about whether you want to continue the EMS or not? And not get into
Tony. I figured you'd jump in there before I got 3 words out and say,
well, because this is what you do.
Shut up, Tony. I hadn't finished yet.
All right, please.
I'm sick of you interrupting me with a bunch of crap every single time I speak.
Okay.
What's your problem?
Could you?
Meantime, on the EMS, I was speaking to the fire marshal last week. If I speak louder, can you hear Tony? About occupancy and about
what we're talking about.
Shut up! About the community problem, and he went berserk about the EMS, and the guy just reamed me, he started carrying on, yelling, and what I didn't expect that. But when I got done, I realized Columbus has got a real problem with this. They're upset with us. And, you know, I haven't been involved in it, but that's what I can share. The other thing is their big complaint is we don't do it all the time. They're obviously have a problem of trying to deal with the intermittency of it, you know, when we're on and when we're off, what they do as a result. So that's what I can share about that. It's always nice to have an ambulance. I don't know what the substations are around here. As long as the response time's 5 minutes, it's not a problem.
Okay, Joe. So it sounds like
I believe that was his input.
You've got good background information, but you're not quite current on where we are here, because we're not being used by the city of Columbus because we're not. So they were angry or upset and they stopped using us. So that was true earlier in the year, and they haven't been using.
Well, this was last week, Diane.
Yeah, you may have had a conversation last week, but
well, it wasn't official.
They stopped calling us.
Yeah, it wasn't anything official. I was speaking to them, and then one guy just went, "Hey, wait a minute," you know, and then he launched into a big tirade about our EMS.
Okay, so now what we're saying is, okay, so now we're being forced to get a contract with the city of Columbus. We're being forced to do that, and so the question is do we, since we've lost any kind of productivity here, should we go ahead and shut down the EMS now?
Well, I haven't completely reviewed the situation, but if we're going to cut it down, what's the point in dragging it out or dangling it?
Okay.
I mean, you can, there's people in training there that might want to, you know, have a little bit of time to find somewhere else to go and some stuff like that. But that would fall in the 2-week area, I would think.
I'd be in favor of doing a 2-week, like everyone's mentioned. When I said immediately, I would say 2 weeks would be fair.
Okay. Okay. Who's next to talk, Mayor?
Mark and Brian.
I've already said what I had to say.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Councilperson Berger is up.
We'll leave Diane for the end. Go ahead, Mark.
Going through what we've done this year, and you know, at this beginning of the year, there was some hope that with a change in leadership at Columbus, we would be put back on the card and resume shared services. And what we pay for EMS is certainly less than even what Columbus is offering to give us service for now, which is why we wanted to keep our own. It was cheaper. We are to the point where it looks like that's not going to happen. I do kind of agree with Councilperson Wolf when he says, when we tell Columbus, look, we're here waiting to offer you help instead of cash, if that's going to be our argument as to why we shouldn't have to pay the back money to, you know, January, saying like, look, we really thought maybe you're going to come around and need us, and so we kept paying, to then pull it away too soon does mean that weakens our argument for that. Now they might say no, and then we get into an argument and a hassle, and we pull out pockets and say, look, they're empty, we'll give you what we can. I don't know how all that works or how aggressive they get at sending bill collectors over here. I'm too new to local government for that. I could see once we get to where, yeah, it definitely looks like we're going to have an agreement signed, put out the 2 weeks notice or 3 weeks or what have you, and shut it down. With the stuff we were talking about, some of the equipment might be gone once this new deal with Columbus is signed anyway. So that's going to kind of dictate a timeline there. But I do agree that since we are resting our argument on why we don't owe you back money, it's because we were ready to be there and be on the call for you, then we have to keep being ready and being on the call for them.
They never put, this is what, that doesn't make any sense to me, because they have not, if they wanted us, if the situation was so dire that they needed an EMS, why would they take us off the run card? They obviously do not.
They took us off the run card because their chief was influenced heavily by the union leaders in Columbus Fire, who did not appreciate doing business with a house that wasn't full-time and wasn't unionized.
Well, then, but they still were not on the run card.
That is true. That is true. But
I don't understand why any of you hold out any hope that us having our EMS still here is going to influence them in any way. It doesn't.
That's not where my argument was coming from, but understandable.
Nor mine, actually. I don't believe it's an influence of them at all, but it is a bad faith thing to say. You know, we've been saying all year that we have an EMS service that's here and ready for you, and now that it looks like we're tidying up, to just kick it to the curb is a bad faith negotiating thing. It's bad faith to both our negotiating partners, and it's a bad faith to the people who are in our employ. Right? Sure, I'd love to save the money, but I would rather be moral and ethical about it.
So I say we give them 2 weeks.
Yeah, as soon as we have a contract, right? The terms are certain, and this body is in agreement that we are moving forward with it. Give them 2 weeks, but until then, to make that change is a bad faith move.
Tony, you and I are in agreement. Brian just said it better.
So basically, I mean, basically EMS revolves around when there's an emergency, somebody calls up and they need you in 5 minutes. And there's no problem with Columbus delivering that, huh?
Nope.
Wow.
They have right over at
that's a whole nother subject there.
Yeah, I mean, our chief has always said Columbus has a problem, but politically that's not something that is appropriate to say if you want to be in partnership with another, you know, in terms of mutual aid. So that argument was always a little bit politically uncomfortable. But sure, I'm sure there's times when all the EMSs, including Columbus, don't meet their timeline. I mean, how could there not be? It's, who knows what the percentage hopefully is small. Everyone hopes that when it's them, it comes in a hurry, but it doesn't always. And you know, we're not going to affect that. We're not going to be able to affect that. I think our fire chief has done everything he can for the last, I think, 10 years. This has been going on for a long time, and has done everything to promote Minerva Park and the mutual aid, and this is where we are, and we're at the end of the line, end of the rope, whatever you want to call it. We're here.
Well, the 5 minute figure comes from life and death. If a person, say for example, I'm just throwing this in there, if a person has a massive heart attack, if they're there in 5 minutes, there's a 1 in 2 chance that they can bring the person around. If it's over 5 minutes, there's none. That's the 5 minute thing. It's not, but I would think Columbus has some figures on that, what their response time is.
I'm sure they do. I know they have to publish their annual report. I've seen it on the web. So as far as I'm concerned, I have 2 things. Number one is that I have not attended any of the meetings with the chief or any of the negotiations. So that is a disadvantage for me. So you have to take that into account. So all I can do, having not been part of that, and Brian has, and I think Mark has, and of course the mayor has. So take that into account when I'm saying, just from a business perspective, a going forward perspective, I would say give people 2 weeks and move towards closing it out. But or you can pick 4, but I wouldn't go past 4. But 2 weeks and go ahead and close it out. And then what my spin on this, again, I have not been in these meetings, but my spin on this would be, okay, it looks like we're in serious negotiations. I would say to them, since it looks like we're in serious negotiations and we're going to be able to come to terms, we need to save as much money as possible in order to pay what we've negotiated here, what we're going to negotiate. Therefore, we wanted to let you know that in good faith effort on our part is that we acknowledge and we're ready to move forward with the appropriate deal based on what we can afford to pay. And to show our good faith, we are going to go ahead and shut down our EMS now. So that's how I would, okay, spin it. That's what I would say.
Not at all an unreasonable approach there.
Remember the humans. It's big.
I'm not in disagreement. Again, I work in there each day and talk to many of them, and yes, you are correct. So, I'm not in disagreement with this is not a surprise. This is definitely coming. I have to look at it as in two different directions. Again, I see them in there every single day. So not every day, but a couple days a week. But that being said, putting the entire village in jeopardy of continually spending, tens of thousands of dollars and then having to turn around and spend tens of thousands of dollars is also not cool either. It's something that if we know it's coming, and here's what I'm going to say, and there's not a right answer. There's not. I mean, you can't win in this battle. So at this point, it's unfortunate that we're even dealing with this. So, and I think we all know that. We can ramble on for an hour. There is not a right answer. It's a matter of, I kind of wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were on it. And then just kind of, because I hate to say this, I feel like it's literally half and half. So, so it's just a matter of, I would like to give it till Friday and see if there's any movement, give a follow-up to Jesse just to kind of see how either the call went or did he send an email, just kind of get a little bit of an update and see what he kind of thinks the time frame could be. So I figure we'll give it a few days and see where we are.
So the one thing I haven't heard here from anybody is having our EMS 24/7.
The quick number to that
I know.
is
I figured I'd bring that, but I'm just curious to hear, what the deal is with that. That's what I'm bringing it up, because that's what Columbus said. I didn't ask for that. I was talking about the community center, and how many people with COVID and this and that. And then they just launched into the EMS thing. And they're not happy. But
are you at will to, I'm just curious who you actually talked to. Was it an EMS person or was it actually O'Connor? I'm just curious.
I'd have to look it up. I had called a couple of the firehouses as one of the station chiefs, but he was speaking for he was an EMS.
Okay.
If we were to run EMS 24/7, it probably costs more to do that than it would to pay Columbus $175,000.
Well, we pay approximately $126,000 right now. $126,000 to $150,000 is what it costs us to run about. I'm going to go with 30% of the time. I don't know if it's 28%, 32%, or 26, whatever. So if we're spending 126, clearly we would make more money if we were billing 24 hours a day. But I still don't believe that was an option with Columbus. And here's how I'm going to defend myself on this. And Brian can also piggyback on this if he wants or have a different answer. We were never part of those initial conversations. There was at least 2 conversations before I was ever involved. I was not part of those meetings, as I know Tony and Diane and Joe should all be aware of. I have no idea, other than that was really not an on the table option because we still weren't part of a union. Is kind of that kept coming up in a circle that it still wasn't, even going full time, even if we could get a good deal, it still really wasn't an option, is what it was relayed to me.
I thought Brian was in those meetings with the mayor.
It was actually Matt Starr. Matt Starr was in those meetings.
Oh, it was Matt Starr.
I was surprised at the attitude, because it wasn't just telling me about a problem. The guy went off. He was yelling, and it was clear, having been a paramedic, that apparently they're frustrated. They just have a difficulty with the schedule. When do they go? When don't they go? Where do they go? And it changes.
If I may suggest that it's probably not the greatest idea to characterize the entire attitude of Columbus Fire EMS based on a conversation you had with a single individual.
Well, I said nothing about the fire department. I said I spoke to an individual who was very angry. That's what I said.
Then that individual is very angry, and it's good to know.
My cousin's a battalion chief. If we want to get the story on the whole department, we got a retired lieutenant over behind the South Lake too.
Is there any other new or old business we need to cover? Because I think we beat this horse.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that I'll follow up with you guys on Friday once I get a little bit of an update from Jesse. If there is any update, I'll let you guys know anything that I find out. Just for a giggle thing for you guys to go to bed and sleep tight on. That application's 25 pages. So
yeah, that's what I was so shocked that you were volunteering for that.
I will. I have no problem doing it again. If I have questions, I'll let you guys know, but it looks as if most of it's still going to be what's in it. So I'm sure that there's a way around it. So because I'm not actually looking to dump. I mean, we're just looking to see if this is something that they're willing to take. So they want to know contractor information and all that. We don't have any of that. So that's a majority of the contract is, when do you want to dump? We don't know. So I'll figure that out. Again, I'll give you guys an update, and worst case, I can just email them the reports and just say, are you willing to take this and not fill out the application? Because I have two people.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I have two people's email addresses there to get an idea. So that's probably what I'll start with. And if they tell me, no, you have to fill this out, then I'll do that. Trust me, I know ways around things.
That's clean dirt. We'll take it. You can fill out the rest. Or, oh, that's dirty dirt. Don't bother.
Exactly. That's my thought.
Because they probably don't want to read 25 pages of your application anyway.
Right. So that's the goal. I'll forward all three reports to them. Just kind of say, this is what we found in the reports. Do you see an issue with this? We're not planning on doing it until next year. We don't have a contractor. We don't have a date. We don't have anything, but we would love to know if this is this even an option? So we'll see where we go from there. All right.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Oh, I do it all the time. So
hasn't stuff.
Go ahead.
What benefit have we gotten out of having EMS 1/3 of the time over these last few periods of years? What is the benefit to us of doing that part-time?
Historically, right, we have received fire protection and expanded EMS, right, for the other EMS time. So the remaining 70% of the time, plus fire protection, has come from Columbus and surrounding areas. In return, we have been providing that 30% EMS service ourselves.
Okay,
right? And so we respond into Columbus and Westerville and what have you. So what we have been getting, what Joe, what we have been getting is, for the cost of running an EMS service 30% of the time, we have gotten full-time fire and EMS service. That's our benefit.
I move to adjourn.
All right, move second. Aye. Everybody say bye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Brian. I didn't understand the whole damn thing. Right. So it's all about the fire. Okay. Yeah. Good night.